back again on this live. How are you doing? I just want to today spend some time on a very interesting area, which is around growth. My name is Rajat Chawla, and I help business professionals grow by focusing on great customer experience. And today I want to talk about the 5 growth strategies for CX professionals. Of course, there's a huge demand right now for CX professionals in all streams, in all domains and industries. Especially with digitization, there's a surge of demand for such professionals, and more companies are now looking for those having expertise in customer experience area. And a lot of people now are transitioning into customer experience, customer success kind of roles. As a result, there are millions of profiles right now on LinkedIn and thousands of jobs available also on LinkedIn. But with so many people in this space performing and really wanting to create a space, a niche, a differentiation for themselves, today I'm going to talk about how to get that differentiation, how to reach that level, that where you feel the sense of accomplishment, and the growth strategies that I'm going to share with you. Probably some of them you might be deploying in your career and some might be very new, so watch it till the end if you want to grow in the area of customer experience. So as I get started, I would like to share my screen where I can share with you an interesting mind map for 5 growth strategies for CX professionals. So, number one is clarity of where do you want to reach. You might be at a starting of your CX career, you might be in middle management, you might be at a senior leadership level, and I want to talk about how can you reach at the epitome, at the top of the pyramid, if you want to be even a CXO, because the strategies that I'm going to share with you will help you get there faster. So depending on where you are, you can chart out your path, though each one would have their own path. And that's what I observed. I actually researched on several profiles. I worked with hundreds of professionals, leaders in the CX space. And when I looked at their profiles, each one of them bring different experience, different backgrounds, different educational history. Even then, they can reach the top. So where do you want to reach? I think the intention of where you want to reach is super important. Some people say I want to be the CX influencer, one of the top CX influencers. Someone says I want to be the top CX leader, I want to be a change agent, and someone says I want to be the chief experience officer or the CXO as we call it. So depending on where you want to go, do you have a clarity of where do you want to reach? Of course, that's true for any career, and that's also true for customer experience. Don't think that you cannot reach at the top. You can reach at the top of the career, which means someone who is totally responsible for probably working with customers, having the head of chief customer officer. I have seen profiles where somebody has been a chief head of customer success in a large organization, moved to another company, became a head of customer experience, and then became chief operating officer. Now it depends on where do you gravitate. So that's number one. Where do you want to go and whom do you want to become? Next is, action speaks louder than CV. So be aware. Again, as I looked at the profile, several profiles of so many CX professionals on LinkedIn, I saw each of them, their CV might have a very different educational background. Someone may even be bachelors of art, somebody might be bachelors of engineering, someone might have a management degree. That is okay, but your profile that includes your experience, your profile that includes your educational background is not everything. So how you're performing in the job and how you're actually charting out your path in an organization. If that's why I said be very clear where you want to reach. So if you enter into an organization today, organizations are flexible. If you really perform well, they are open to give you the opportunity to get into another role of your choice. So actions speak louder than CV means that you build your profile through results. And when I talk about results, what are those results? What does that result means? Let's look at that. Let's zoom in on certain elements of results. So results in the customer experience space, customer success space means growth. What is it? The customer experience ultimately should lead to growth for the company. It should lead to increased customer acquisition. In case of SaaS, software as a service businesses, where there are a lot of customer experience professionals and a lot of customer success professionals are in demand today, the success, the result means renewals of the subscription. It means growing revenue. It means growing profit. It means a strong brand building. So some of these results, you should be able to map your passion for experience with some of these results. Always keep that in mind. While, of course, I'm a hardcore customer experience person, even then you cannot just think about experience, and experience is all about emotion, but you cannot just look at emotion experience in isolation, but connecting it with the results. So action speaks louder than CV. Now let's look at what are some of the customer metrics. Especially if your specialization in customer experience, that means you specialize in things to do with customer, and therefore you again, results have to be measured. And for that, what metrics are important? Some of the metrics, and sometimes each organization could have their own metrics, but these are indicative. So experience, which is emotion, as per some of the studies, including Harvard study, including Temkin Group study, emotion is the least preferred, least paid attention element. However, emotion is the most significant element for impacting the growth of any business, including loyalty, including increased word of mouth, increased reference, right? So experience could have one metric, and some of the metrics that I'm sharing below further are also related to experience metrics. So next one could be loyalty. How many customers do you have which are actually advocating? And with that advocacy comes the most popular metric, which is NPS, net promoter score. How many of your customers are promoters? How good is your NPS score? Another customer metric. Lifetime value. How many of them continue to be with you for a life, for a long time? Some company I know have this slogan of, we help you get customers for life, right? So lifetime value is very key. Another interesting metric is customer effort score, especially in the digital world. How easy it is for customers to do business with you is another metric. And then customer success, which means, are they successful with your product, with your service, with being you as a vehicle of service for them? All this is more important, and if you start getting results in these areas, start following metrics, then you are building a profile where your actions on a day to day, on a week on week, as you grow in your career, this is what will be more sellable and will lead for right kind of roles and right kind of opportunity within your organization, or even outside the organization if you want to transition. Are you with me? Let me know, put it in the chat box if you're watching this live or later, if these things resonate with you. What's your opinion? What would you like to add further in results and in customer metrics? Moving on, the third thing is growth paths. As I observed at the profiles of so many CX professionals, some of them who worked with me, and thousands of them on LinkedIn, some of them I browsed through, and I found out how they grew. For example, I was looking at how, especially I searched on customer experience officers, and then I looked at their profile, and then I looked at where they started, what did they do at each transition, what did they do in their career to be at that CXO level. And I identified they did several things. They actually came from operations background. Sometimes they started with being a customer facing professional, then moved on to strategic roles, and then moved on to operational roles. So you could have, the main thing that was common is their focus on doing something with the customer. And again, that's why the initial point of results. Some of them move from sales background into uh, CX role. Some of them came from marketing and communications background. And having spent a lot of time and working across different organizations, they rounded their profile around value to the customer, and through value to the customer, creating abundance for their organization. So communication also is an important one, where you communicate internally and externally. Usually it is combined with marketing. Then consulting. Sometimes some professionals also spend a lot of time and deepen their depth and width of knowledge and experience with consulting roles. Then they get into operational roles, dirty their hands. So it's a good blend of having a deep knowledge with powerful application. And in each of these roles, as I said, value for the customer, and through the value for the customer, abundance for the company, right? And then entrepreneurs, I've also observed sometime some professionals started with a job, then started on their own, became entrepreneurs, and had a rounded profile, did things which were more entrepreneurial. Sometimes you don't get to do everything in a large organization, so you take this entrepreneurial stint and expand your understanding, and then you go back into the job. So I observed that also. That gives you a strong direct accountability and result orientation, especially as a startup entrepreneur, or if you're on your own, right? So that's way different than having the blanket of being a part of large organization. So with that, you come back and you get into customer experience growth path again. Then customer success role, which is relatively newer, but it is all about helping customers become successful. As I said, I have seen profiles where people closely work with the customer, and then they go up the ladder, they become strategic, and then also own, become chief of customer experience, chief of operations, also sometimes after CXO, right? So with that, these are some of the growth paths. Now let's look at what is another key element that I cover in detail in my customer experience mastery programs, in my customer experience certification program. And I've worked with so many leaders, and this is something that has really been critical, and I've observed that is a differentiator for people who are actually very passionate and successful in CX, and which is what I have: passion, obsession, and discipline. So CX professionals who want to chart out growth path, they must be strategic in terms of having the passion for doing what they are involved in, really being obsessed about customers, adding value to customer, and through adding value to customer, actually getting results for the company. And to get the results, again, you need discipline. In fact, we go deep into these disciplines. We have 5 disciplines that we cover in our customer experience masterclass, which include culture, design, strategy, voice of customer, and ROI, return on customer investment, right? So these are some of the things that you must have discipline around, obsession and passion around. With that, you truly create a differentiation, and you keep going, and there where you want to reach with that, right? Last thing that I want to share on this framework is acceleration. Since I have talked to you about growth, how do you accelerate this growth? And these are proven strategies. One of the thing is ensure that you have someone mentoring you, who've been there, who know the field of customer experience, have strong grounding, bring in thought leadership, have actually helped other people be successful. You work with such mentor, and then you get certification. You pick up a world class certification that might actually give you the credibility to get your next break. Of course, it doesn't take away the need for you to perform on the job, but it actually brings you that richness to your profile. And some of those certifications are truly credible, and it's not easy to get them. You have to actually work hard. You have to prove your credentials that you've truly worked and dirtied your hand in the space of customer experience. So identify that those certification that actually help you upskill. So we have a master class where we actually not just train you for certification, but help you build powerful new skills to differentiate yourself in the market. The third thing is community. Being part of a certain community, we have our customer experience mastermind where so many senior leaders are part of it. All of them are credible, have great backgrounds from companies like um, Amazon, and Freshworks. I've worked with Freshworks, Google. So you actually be part of that energy and that space and that experience, and you start to actually grow from there further. It gives you that acceleration once you have mentoring, community, and the right credentials along with your profile. In fact, I know some of the very senior leaders have gone ahead and done their certification. They not need not, but they did it because they wanted to demonstrate the depth, and they felt it is important to inspire others as well. So I talked about few things. Let me just quickly take a view from you. If you're watching this live or recorded, feel free to leave a note and let me know how are you feeling about what I shared with you. What resonated with you, what else would you like to add, and if you have any questions, let me just check on the questions so that I can answer them. Any questions? All right. So I think let me do a quick recap of what I shared. I talked about where do you want to reach as a number one point and have that clarity, and be aware that actions speak louder than the CV, which means how you perform on a day to day basis, what results you deliver on the job are more important and on certain customer metrics than what you might have in your profile. Then the growth paths, what growth path you take to be at the top of the pyramid if you want to get there. You may, it doesn't matter where you start, whether you have those credentials. I've seen people with minimal qualification still reaching to the top by demonstrating the results and value they bring for the customer, because you are a customer professional, so you are specializing in building results for your customer. And then iPod, I have the passion, obsession, and discipline. And then accelerating your growth path through the right mentoring, through a credible certification, and being part of certain community or a mastermind where you are with people who inspire you, help you, hold you accountable for your growth. I hope you found this useful. Please feel free to share your views and comments. I'll be happy to hear from you. And if you have any other key topics that you want to get covered, I'll be happy to talk about them in the area of customer experience, customer success going forward. Thank you. Thank you. We'll connect with you again. Bye bye.